All right, Dave. Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to give you a little interview here.
All right.
First of all, I understand you're Jewish.
Both my parents are Jewish. Does that make me a Jew?
Yes, I believe so. You could,
Then I'm a Jew.
yeah, you could go back to Israel. You have the right of return to Israel.
Well, I've never been there, but I guess if you're Jewish, that does give you some
Yeah,
leverage
you're
as far
part of
as,
the Jewish diaspora,
yeah.
they call it. So, and okay, but I also understand that you believe that Jesus is the promised Messiah.
I'm pretty convinced.
Okay, and um, well, a lot of Jews, maybe not all, but a lot of Jews would say, um, "No, you're not. If you believe in Jesus, then you're not a Jew."
Right. That's what my mother told me.
Yeah. Okay. And so, what was speaking of your mother? What was your reaction of your
Oh,
family?
which, oh, well, I mean, my mother was disappointed. I think a lot of Jewish people look down their nose at Christians. And, part of it's because historically speaking, a lot of Christians killed Jewish people in the name of their religion, for one. The Crusaders, if you call the Crusaders Christians. I believe that's part of it. And of course, the Jewish people and Christian people don't believe the same things, so the Jewish people are going to look at the Christians as though you're trying to diminish the spirituality of Judaism, I guess.
Correct. Um, okay, and you don't want to say anything about it, any of your other family members, what they thought.
Well, I remember my grandpa hadn't spoken to him, and well, since I was a little kid, he got on the phone and he said that he heard I did a really stupid thing or something like that. He said, "You reject your own religion and you believe in this guy Jesus." And I said, "Well, I don't know that I reject my own religion. First of all, I was never, my parents were not Orthodox Jews, so I mean, I wasn't really, we did celebrate Hanukkah. I went to temple a handful of times, but, um, not like I was raised in this Orthodox Jewish home to where I rejected really anything. Um, is believing in Jesus rejecting Judaism? I guess to some people it is. I guess so.
Right. And are you're aware of the prophecies of in the Old Testament about Jesus?
Yeah, yeah, like in Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah 53. And some say that the Passover was symbolic of Jesus spilling his blood.
The blood
And
on the doorpost when the
right,
when the children of Israel left
yeah,
Egypt. Yeah.
yep.
Okay. And um, are you aware? The Apostle Paul wrote about this. He said that, of course, he was a Jew, and all the disciples, the early disciples, were Jews. Well, maybe not all, but uh, uh, most of them were. And he wrote about it. I can't tell you the verse and chapter, but he said that there's a that there's a blindness has God has caused a blindness to come over the Jewish people so that they can't see that Jesus is the Messiah.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but apparently that doesn't that doesn't seem to be true of you. So, um, what would you say to some Jewish people that may be watching this?
Well, I don't know that a lot of Jewish people would be all that interested in what I have to say just because I'm Jewish, because I wasn't raised in a home where we followed all the traditions, and truthfully, I don't understand my own religion as well as a serious Jewish person would. But
Right.
I will say this: the teachings of Jesus, you just listen to them, see what you think, listen to some of the things he taught about forgiveness and living by faith, and see if it doesn't jive with you, because to me it has. I remember opening my business here, for example, when I first opened it. I was in an absolute panic about being able to make my bills. I went from having this easy kickback life to all of a sudden taking on all this responsibility. And I remember just not knowing what was going to happen. And I was amazed that the rent would come every single month. I mean, I've been here for about 28 years now. I think there was like 1 month I was a couple days late. A couple times I forgot to pay the rent just because I was absent-minded, but that was not a big deal. But no, I just found a lot of what Jesus has said about faith, forgiveness, non-judgment. It makes sense to me. So as much as humanly possible, I'm trying to live by those traditions. Unfortunately, I do fall short more than I'd care to admit. But anyway, yeah, listen to what he said and see what you think.
And, okay, and you think from what you've been telling me earlier in the conversations, you think some of the prejudice the Jews have towards Jesus is that they were so badly treated by people that called themselves Christian.
So-called Christians, right?
Yeah, so-called Christians over the centuries that sort of left a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of interesting that Israel, from what I understand, is a large part of their population is secular.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know the answer to that one.
It's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah. So, okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Probably. Not a whole lot comes to mind right now. I was just thinking, you mentioned earlier about Jewish people being blinded, you were saying? Or how?
I didn't say that, but yeah, the Apostle Paul wrote that that God has put blindness over the Jewish people, but I believe it says only for a season.
Why would he do that, though?
I don't think I know the answer to that one too.
I mean, I wonder, is that true? Is that true? I don't know.
Well,
maybe. I mean, it does say it in the Bible. I remember reading that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not true. It's just kind of an interesting question. I think it says something about to make room for Gentiles to enter in, or something along.
Yeah. Well, God has his. I don't claim to understand all the mysteries of why God does something, but yeah, it does say that, and I'm personally I'm convinced of what the Apostle Paul said was true. But also, it wasn't true of all the Jews, even at the time that Paul was writing. It wasn't true of all the Jews,
Yeah.
and so that's about all I can say on the matter. Maybe somebody watching the video will have some comment upon that, but it's all God works in mysterious ways. I know that for sure.
I will say this, I can't tell you that I'm walking on water. I can't tell you that I don't struggle with my fallen nature, I guess you could say. I'm not sure at what point you have the right to call yourself a Christian, because I'm still pretty flawed. But I will say this: in my business, I've seen God moving in my business in ways that there's no other explanation for the way things have worked out. And you kind of had to be in my shoes to get what I'm saying. I mentioned how the money always came for the business, and that's something, even now to this day, I've been here 28 years in this shop. I have a photograph of the day I opened right up there, and it's just amazing how things work out. Let's say I go through a period where I'm not feeling well, and I know I'm not up to a real labor-intensive job on a particular day, and a lot of times the perfect job comes to where it doesn't require much of me. Again, a lot of people hear that and say, "Oh, Dave, what does that mean? Life is full of ups and downs, right?" Anyway, you have to be in my shoes is all I can say.
Okay. Thanks for sharing with us.